Welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast. This is Jessica Butts, your host and CEO and creator of Front Seat Life, where I help you be unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business. Hello, Front Seat Lifers. I am so excited to be with you today. This entire month of March, for those of you who are listening to the replay, March 2019, I am coming to you to talk to you all about things other related. So as you guys know, this whole podcast is really about living your life from the front seat, about being unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business. And thus far, we have been talking about being unapologetically who you are in your life. So understanding who you are, figuring out the differentiation side of that infinity symbol that I talked about last week. All of these are kind of going in sequence. So for those of you who are kind of just getting started with me, just learning about this podcast, we're only on episode 10. So as we're on episode 10, you've only got kind of 9 that you could have gone and listened to. So I would encourage you to go back and listen to those, as I have been talking about the self, being unapologetically who you are, understanding, again, your side of the net, differentiation, who you are, what your opinions are, what your personality type is, how you show up in this world. And last week, we really transitioned, March 1st, we transitioned over into the other. So we've been talking about self, which is on one side of the infinity symbol, differentiation and self. And now the other part of who are you is this piece of how we're in relationship to people, because none of us live in a silo. We live in the world. We have sisters and brothers and parents and friends and lovers and coworkers, and everybody has somebody in their life. So everybody has somebody in their life. And those are the people that we have to now attune to. So once we understand who we are in this world, this is how we show up. This is the things that, again, we believe, our opinions, but we can't always be selfish. I mean, that is a very one-sided way to live, but we also can't always be attuned, which means you're super codependent. If you were always attuned, you would be always worrying about others. I know there's probably some of you listening who are like, oh shit, that's me. You're too concerned with other people. You get into people's business. You don't mind your own business. Everything ends up being something that you have to chime in on or say something about, when the reality is sometimes it's just not your business, and you need to get on the other side of the net or the other side of the affinity symbol and be differentiated and mind your own business. And so the attunement piece is how we have a healthy, let me be very clear about that, a healthy balance between self and others, between differentiation and attunement. And attuning is, again, attuning to others. So first we have to learn how to put our own oxygen mask on. So if you don't even know what I'm talking about, or if you're like, who am I? I don't know what that means. It might be time to go back and listen to the last 10 episodes to get yourself acquainted. I will be talking about that, of course, as we continue through the next 52 weeks and beyond on the Front Seat Life podcast. But today specifically is about how you get attuned to other people in your life, specifically around the introversion and extroversion dichotomy. So the next 3 weeks are going to be going back to Myers-Briggs and learning how to be in relationship with other people. So I'm naming this understanding your partner's energy, understanding that half of the population, let me get clear about that. Half of the population is introverted, half of it is extroverted. If you need to go back and listen to the introverted and extroverted episode, it's with my dear friend Jenny Dawn and my amazing director of operations. Both of them are introverted, and we have an hour-long discussion, and they shared their insights on what it's like to be introverted in this world, and I share my experience of what it's like to be extroverted in this world and how different we are and how we show up differently in the world. So highly recommend you go back and listen to that, because today is really about how you are in relationship and how you can understand your partner's energy, because this is what we do as human beings. We are selfish. We are. If you're laughing right now and you don't know that, or if you think that's bad, I'm here to teach you a few things about being selfish. Being selfish, in my opinion, is not necessarily a bad thing. Or we just need to acknowledge the fact that we are all selfish. We just are. We live in our own skin. We have no other way of being in this world. It just truly is who we are. We are egocentric. Again, we can really always only know our own experience. Yes, we can empathize. Yes, we can sympathize with other people, but in reality, we only know ourselves. And so when we're going through this world, we try to want to make other people be like us. So we as extroverts, so I'm a strong extrovert. I'm sure that's not terribly surprising to any of you, but I go through this world seemingly thinking that everyone is like me, or wishing everybody's energy was the same as mine, or again, thinking that everybody thinks the same as I do, makes decisions the same way that I do, and also has the same energy that I do. And the reality is half of the population doesn't have the same energy that I do. And for the introverts listening, the same is true. However, I will say for the introverts, that's probably more obvious because we live in an extroverted world. So I guess I should tell you now, this is a good time to tell you that I like to make up facts. I feel like this should be a thing. Like it's true. This is a fact, but how do you make up a fact? Like, do I get into some book or something? Like, who makes up facts? Because this is a fact, but I made it up. So I don't know what that constitutes, but it is true. It's more than a hypothesis. It's an actual fact, but I made it up. So anyway, the fact is that I made up is that we live in an extroverted world. Can I get an amen to that from all the introverts? Typically when I'm doing a talk or educating people on this, they're like, amen, sister, because the introverts know this shit to be really, really true. Because they are the ones that feel marginalized. They often feel weird or different, or that no one understands them, or their energy is different. And that we in this society, especially with social media these days, we reward extroversion. How involved are you? How much stuff is going on? How many friends do you have? How many times are you posting what's going on in the world? And how many activities are you doing during the weekend? And introverts, that is not a good indication of their energy. The good indication is, how much time did I actually get to spend by myself? How many hours this weekend did I not have to see another human being? How many times did I get to introvert out and just sit on my couch and look out the window and read a really great book and make dinner just for myself, or take a solo trip or something? But yet in our society, we are so overwhelmed with how many activities, how many parties, how many friends, how many things are you doing? And somehow that becomes an evaluation of how good or popular or someone's worthiness. I will go as far as to say, I think we judge people's worthiness on those kinds of activities and extrovertedness, which in turn helps me prove my made up fact that we live in a world that rewards extroversion. So let's keep going and talking about this understanding your partner's energy. So just a little bit of background, and just to remind you, for those of you who haven't listened to the introverted extroverted episode, and just to be honest, I've been doing this work with certain clients for 5+ years. And every time they hear me talk about it, they say, my God, every time you talk about this, I learn something different. So hang tight. You may not need to fast forward right now. You might need to hear this as well. So here we go. Introversion and extroversion is about understanding your energy. So this goes to understanding your partner's energy. And again, this is about others. This whole series is about understanding others. Extroverts give their best self to other people because it gives them energy. Introverts save their best selves because it gives them energy. Extroverts like being out in the world. They like doing things like socializing and being in groups of people and talking and engaging. You'll often find extroverts even like to go to a loud Starbucks and do work sometimes because that energy gives them energy. Where introverts, they love retreating inward. They like being with one or two people. They need time alone to recharge. So since this is about couples specifically, and there'll be an opportunity for you to learn more about this online program that I have coming up specifically for couples. But if you want to know more, the waitlist is open. It's at frontseatlove.com. But let's use this scenario. So there's an introverted and extroverted couple, and this was back in my therapy days. This would happen all the time. So let's just say the female in the relationship, I guess I shouldn't do that. Let's just say partner one, whether that's a man or a woman or, a gay couple, it doesn't really matter. So let's just say partner one. Let's just use a heterosexual couple just to make it a little more, easy to visualize who this person is. But obviously this doesn't matter who this is. This could be a mother and a daughter. This could be a father and a son. This could be anybody. So let's just do person one. Criminy. Will just be easier. Person one is home. And that person is just hanging out and they're waiting for their person two to get home. They're waiting for the person to get home. And person two walks in the door. Person one is very extroverted. Person two that's walking in the door is introverted. Person one, no matter what, if they've been at work all day or whatever, they want to process. They want to talk. They want to engage. They want to know how your day was, what's happening. How were you, honey? Tell me this, tell me that, all the stuff. How are you? They want to connect and externally process. Two extroverts in a home together are typically pretty chatty, pretty loud. There's a lot of stuff going on because extroverts are external processors. Hi, how was your day? What's going on? Tell me, blah. This is what I did. How are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. That is how we connect and we like it. And that is how, again, we connect and engage. Person number two walks in the door. And of course, that person is much, much more introverted. And that person needs some damn time to download. They need some time to get their energy back. Let's say they were at work. Maybe they're a teacher. Maybe they work at Microsoft. Maybe they work in a business. Maybe they're your kid and they've been out in the world extroverting all day. Let's just imagine, a teacher. I don't know. That's a good example. Like they're extroverting all day. They're putting out fires. They're dealing with kids. They're talking. They're engaging. They come home and they need a hot minute. Whether this, again, if your child, they typically need to go in their room and decompress. They may need to read. They may need to play by themselves. They may need to take a nap. They may need to just be quiet. But introverts need, not that extroverts don't too. Like, let me be clear. I'm extroverted. I certainly need some downtime, but this is more about your energy. Extroverts get energy from being around other people. So they're out all day typically, and then that energizes them. Introverts, if they're out in the world, and they are processing all day externally and talking and putting out fires and doing the extroverted world stuff, they come home and they need a safe place. They need a time alone. They may need to go upstairs for 30 minutes by themselves. They may need to go to their basement. They may need to go to her she cave or he-man cave, whatever it is. What are those guys called? They have a man cave and then she has a she shed. I don't know these terms. I mean, obviously these are funny terms out there. She sheds and man caves. Whoever your partner is, whatever their gender is, they need to go and retreat to that place typically because they need some time to internally process. They need some time to recharge. But what happens again is we judge that. And again, as extroverts, we're more vocal about it. Why aren't you more like this? Why aren't you more like that? Why don't you want to connect? Why don't you want to talk to me? And introverts are like, slow your roll, sister. Like all I really want to do is just take a little bit of time for myself. And I will say that this is a whole nother side of introvert and extrovert and understanding your partner's energy is that introverts, they just simply need more time. They need more alone time. The gentleman I'm dating right now is a good example of that. He's definitely in the middle. He's not super introverted or super extroverted. I would say he's probably a very slight introvert, but he has a very deep friendships with very few people. And he really values his alone time. So do I, but he more than me. And introverts are the same way. They need it. But yet, as extroverts, we judge that. So I'm sure you're listening right now and going, oh my God, I totally get this. So extroverts, we expect everyone else to be like us. Don't you want to hang out? Don't you want to go to the movies? Don't you want to talk? Don't you want to do this? Don't you want to do that? Don't you want to go to a huge party? Don't you want to go to a huge dance? And a lot of times the introverts are like, hell to the no, I don't want to do that. If we want to go talk to a couple of friends, or maybe we just want to hang out in the house and read, or maybe play a game together, or just go to dinner with like a couple friend or one friend, because that to them is about connecting and it's still socializing. So let's do a little re-education on what it is like for extroverts and introverts in terms of their energy. So think about, again, wearing your heart on your sleeve. So extroverts, their heart is there, they're out, they get energy, they love lots of people. They actually prefer it, if I'm going to say that. Like, I actually think extroverts prefer being around groups of people. They like being out in a bunch of people. Introverts, on the other hand, they still like to socialize, but they do it with fewer people. I've never, ever actually met an introvert who loves going and being with lots of people, because there is not a level of connection. They prefer one-on-one, 1 to 2, smaller groups of people. Introverts, this is a very interesting thing. So introverts' best friends will often say things like, oh, there's no way that he or she is introverted. No way. Because introverts will show their best selves to those they're very close to. Where extroverts wear their heart on their sleeve on the outside, introverts wear their heart on the inside of their sleeve. So it's in there, but they save it for those that they invite in proximity and emotionally close enough to see that heart on the inside of their sleeve. So oftentimes, again, friends of an introvert will say, oh my God, there's no way. But it's because they've been brought into the fold. They've been brought into like the Jessica introverted world, or the Erica, my sister is a strong introvert, her internal world. Her friends would never say that they think she's an introvert, although she is a slight introvert. But they would never say that about her, because her best friends, they get the best version of her. But then other people, no way, no way. She has to get comfortable. I think about her like at my huge event. So she oftentimes assists at my big event. She's actually done it every year at my huge event. And the first couple of years, I mean, there is no way that she would have spoken up or gotten on the microphone or wanted to be any part of that. She is there to be in the background. This last year, for those of you who were there would definitely have known this. It was awesome. She stood up and ended the whole, makes me teary thinking about it. It was so beautiful. She got up and shared on the microphone one of the most personal things that has ever happened to her. And it was funny, and it was extroverted, and it was personal, and it made everybody cry. She cried, we laughed, she laughed. It's just Erica. She's funny, and she's heartfelt. And she wouldn't have done that until the third year of when she finally felt comfortable. She had allowed the majority of those people in that room into her inner world. As an extrovert, I love getting on stage. And again, I'm a very strong extrovert. So that those of you who are slight extroverts are like, oh God, no, I don't want to do that. But there's also that scale of extrovertedness where that to me is very comfortable. And for her, it doesn't mean she can't do it. So let's get clear about that. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means you have to decide, first of all, I think there's a decision point of whether or not I actually want to let you in. Do I want to get that extroverted? Do I want to share that much? Do I want to? Again, it's an invitation into that inner part of your world. If you decide, like Erica did, I'm now comfortable. I'm comfortable enough in this environment with these people to share something very personal and awesome in my life for the benefit of others. So I hope that example helps you kind of see that heart on the sleeve and then understanding this energy. Hello, Front Seat Lifers. I have a crazy, exciting announcement. I have been waiting to put this new work out into the world for probably 7 years. It's been in me that entire time. So most of you know, I have a master's degree in clinical psychology. I used to be a couples counselor. I loved that work. I actually really enjoyed working with high conflict couples, addiction, infidelity, as well as couples that were just doing great. It was one of my favorite things actually to work with those couples who just needed a little tune-up, if you will. And that is exactly what I am bringing you next. So my first book, Live Your Life from the Front Seat, was released 4 years ago and is the basis for kind of all understanding of self, using personality types, some therapy skills, codependency, mindset skills, learning how to put it all to good use by taking action. That is the first step in helping you be unapologetically who you are in your life. Then I released 2 years later, Don't Do Stuff You Suck At. And that really is more for entrepreneurs and digs deep into personality type and specifically the last dichotomy of J and P to help you understand why you have trouble getting things done. And it also digs deeper into what you should not be doing, hence the name. I also introduce in that book my trademark system, the 3S method, structure, system, singular, focus, to help you take decisive action, helping you be unapologetically who you are in your business. And the last announcement, it's not going to be a book quite yet, but I am launching my first ever online program around the love content. Drum roll, please. I literally couldn't be more excited to take this work, bring it to you in an online format. This is really going to be for couples who are doing well. They are in a good place. They are fairly happy, need some good communication skills. And I will be honest too, this actually doesn't take an entire couple. It really could just be one person in the relationship because that makes a huge difference as well. I'm going to teach you every single best couples tool that I've ever used. We're going to start with all of the dichotomies, really diving into them deeper about how they are about your relationship. And stay tuned for the entire month of March as I'm going to be diving in deep to all of these different dichotomies. We're going to talk about masculine and feminine energy. We're going to talk about personality type. We're going to talk about mindset and love languages and communication skills and ladder of inference and family of origin and core values and really all the tools that have literally changed relationships, changed my relationship, changed the relationships that I've had the honor of working with. So stay tuned for more. In the meantime, the wait list is open. It is going to get filled very, very, very fast. So go to frontseatlove.com, enter your name, and we will make sure that we keep you updated on all of the good stuff coming. I cannot wait to work with you. Don't forget, frontseatlove.com. Okay, I want to go to this new place of talking a little bit about love languages before I kind of wrap up this episode about understanding your partner's energy. Is that there is a love language that this very much plays into. So one of the love languages from Gary Chapman, let me give you a little bit of background. Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, is one of the best tools I've ever found for couples. I used it in all of my couples therapy. We'll be talking about it in my upcoming Front Seat Love online course. But I actually like to tie some of these love languages into personality types. So there's a nice weave weaving in, if you will, of love languages and personality type. And I will continue to talk about those as we go through the dichotomies this month. But this one in particular, the introversion and extroversion dichotomy, has to do with quality of time. So there's 5 love languages. This is one of them, is quality time. And when I was a therapist, this was very highlighted for me with one of my couples in particular. So they both had as one of their 2 primary love languages, quality time. However, the gentleman in the relationship, this was a heterosexual relationship, the husband was very extroverted. I mean, he loved being out. He loved going to happy hour. He loved being out. He loved going out on the weekends. He loved to be active and socializing and doing all the extroverted stuff. And his wife was extremely introverted. And she had a very high-ranking, important job. And she was busy all day long, in and out of meetings, managing people, coaching people, doing all the stuff. Worked at an organization here in Seattle area and was quite busy and very full. On the weekends, including Friday night, she wanted to check out. Her quality time was hanging out in the house, reading newspapers, making food together, watching movies, and being introverted. That was quality time to her. Yet he often felt like, oh my God, woman, I need to get out of the house. I need to go get some shit done. I need to see some people. Let's go skydiving. Why don't we do this? Let's go do this. Why don't we do this? And they would constantly fight about that. And they never understood why they could be similar love languages, yet why they missed the mark so much. So we started talking about this, of course, in terms of introversion and extroversion. And then they had like this epiphany of like, oh, I get it. I see this. And so we just started having that conversation. How do they spend quality time together, yet they both get their needs met? So she was more than happy to spend time by herself. Like Friday night, she was like, babe, I would literally love nothing more. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but I would love nothing more for you to go out, get your happy hour on, socialize your butt off, come home whenever you want to come home, but let me come home and cook dinner by myself. Let me read the newspaper, let me hang out, read a book, go to bed early, take a bath, do whatever I need to do. And that became their like night alone. And then on Sunday afternoons, I don't remember what we figured out, but one of the days, or maybe it was Sunday mornings, he liked to go play basketball. And so that was another part for him where he was like, I get to get out of the house. I get to go do some stuff. Yet I think they made an arrangement that they would spend Saturday afternoons always together and like then Sunday afternoons. She would compromise and say, okay, by Saturday evening, I will have restored my introverted energy enough by spending time alone at home Friday and Saturday morning. So then she felt like, okay, I've done it. I've restored my introverted energy. Let's go out. So then Saturday night, they would go out together. They would go to a movie. They would go with friends. They would go to a bar. They would go do trivia night, whatever they would do. They would go do that thing. So he would feel like they were spending quality time together. She would feel like they were spending quality time together. Yet it wasn't this always constant struggle. It became a compromise. So about understanding your partner's energy. He didn't nag her anymore, and she felt guilty. That was the other thing. She would always feel guilty of like, fuck, babe, I don't like, honey, geez, I don't want to do this thing. Like, don't judge me. Don't get mad at me. Don't make me feel bad for not wanting to go do all the shit you want to go do. And she would be exhausted. I mean, she would just be like, by Sunday night, or even Monday, the week would come and I had no time by myself. And she just would be exhausted. And again, it doesn't mean that she doesn't love him. She loved him madly and deeply, yet they just needed to learn this new thing. And then this is the other awesome part, is it gave him permission. So she felt guilty and then he felt guilty for wanting to go out without her. So as soon as she gave him permission of like, oh my God, babe, please go out. Please go out. Please leave me alone. I mean, basically it was like, please leave me alone. I actually don't want you here. I love you, but I need some time by myself. So then this gave him permission to be like, shit, now I get to go play with my friends and have some beers and do trivia night and do whatever I want and come home and not feel guilty. Like, it was heaven. She was happy, he was happy, and then they knew that they would spend time together. She would recharge her energy. It was like this beautiful arrangement between the two of them. So I wanted to use that example as the ending of kind of understanding your partner's energy, because I think this couple was such a great example of, like, we often feel guilty. We feel weird asking for our needs, right? That's a whole nother part of a relationship that feels funny. Instead of just saying, hey, this is what I need. I need some time alone. I need to go out. I need us to go out. How can we manage that, but you also get your needs met? I need to take naps. I need to recharge myself. I need to spend some time by myself. All of these things, we need to not feel guilty about them. We just have to learn, one, understanding our energy. That's why I always start with self. How do I learn how to put my own oxygen mask on first? That's step one. Who the hell am I? Who am I in this world so that I can at least communicate that with my partner? Like, I have needs. This is what I need to do. I need to rest. I need some naps. I need to go out. I need to do whatever. And that's fine. It's fine. And then being able to be in a healthy relationship with our partner, and then also having that conversation. Here are my needs. What are your needs? Oh, you need 2 nights alone by yourself, or you need a whole day on Sunday, or you need whatever. Okay, how do we compromise? Instead of, what's wrong with you? Why don't you love me? Why aren't you more like me? Why don't you do this? Right? This is what we do. We nag and we want people to be exactly like us, and they're not. Because it's not just about personality type. It's about type. It's about family of origin. It's our culture of origin. It's our love languages, and understanding that so many times we can have similarities, but then also differences. And going through that infinity symbol, again, I want you to visualize, but as I end this episode, of the differentiation on one side. This is who I am. These are my needs. This is what I want. These are my beliefs. This is my personality type. These are my core values. And then on the other side, as I float over on the other side, attunement, sitting down with my partner and saying, hey, baby, what do you need right now? What's going on with you? What do you need this week? What do you need in life? What do you need this year? What do we need? What do you need? And then learning how to balance that, compromise, and flow from side to side. Introversion and extroversion is the start of that. So let me tell you where we're going next week. Next week's going to be amazing. So if it wasn't a copyright issue, I would play the Salt and Pepper song right now. I hope it's Salt and Pepper. I hope I'm giving credit to the right place of Let's Talk About Sex. So next week, we're going to do it. We're going to talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but that's a fun episode title. So we're going to talk about variety. We're going to talk about the sensing and intuition dichotomy in terms of how one dichotomy, intuitives, needs variety. And that happens to be with all things, but including sex. So intuitives need variety in vacations, in their weekly schedule, in what you're eating, where you're going, what you're doing, and including sex. And sensors are much better at routine. So they're the ones who kind of are good with scheduling sex or scheduling a lot of different things in your life. And again, this is about understanding our partners, learning how to attune to them, not pathologizing, not blaming, not shaming, not shoulding, so that we can all stop feeling guilty and we can start understanding that we're just different. We're just different. And that is perfectly, wonderfully, beautifully okay. All right. I hope this episode was fun, engaging, interesting for you. As you know, I love hearing your reviews. In fact, right after this, the review is going to run for the week. I'm reading them each week because I'm obsessed with them. I love them so much. And part of your support as this podcast, I don't get paid for this shit yet. I have to do all of this because I love you guys and I want to get this stuff out into the world. So the way that you can love back is rating, hopefully 5 stars. Hopefully you love it. Rating, reviewing, subscribing, sharing it, telling people about it. That is how you can always share the love. So always thankful to get that. Have an awesome week, and I will see you next Friday on Front Seat Life Friday. Bye, everybody. All right, everybody, I have a confession to make. I have a new obsession, and that obsession is reading your ridiculously wonderful, loving, amazing reviews on iTunes. I love them. None of this even matters without all of you. So as a thank you, each week I will be reading one review on air and calling out your review with your name or your iTunes handle. So here's how it's going to go. You're going to go to Instagram and follow me at Front Seat Life. When you hear your name called out on the podcast, you are going to send me a DM with your address and say, "Oh my gosh, you just read my review." And I or my team will be sending you some Front Seat Life swag. We've got books and we've got tank tops and we've got journals and we have these adorable pink swells. So we will be choosing from the goodie bag and sending it out as a thank you. So thank you in advance. And I am so deeply honored to have the opportunity to thank you back. Today's review comes from DSM0821. I wish these had names because it'd be a little bit more fun to read, but thank you. It's DSM0821, and he or she writes in the subject line, "Love, love, love," and 5 stars. Thank you. They write, "If you need to understand you or the folks around you, this is for you. It's easy to say we are all different, but if you want to dig deep and understand the good, the bad, and the ugly, or the downright hilarious, again, this is for you," in all caps. Thanks, Jessica, for sharing your life and experiences with the rest of us. And thank you so much for that gorgeous review. Go over to Instagram at Front Seat Life, follow me, send me a DM, and we will send you some swag. From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, there's a couple ways that you can do that. First is always starting with your personality assessment tool. It's available on my website at jessicabutts.com. It's totally free, and it will help you figure out your personality type so you'll have some idea of what we're talking about. Next is, if you're interested in hiring me for a keynote or some coaching or strategy days or the fabulous and amazing Front Seat Life community, you can find out all about all of that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.